Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much for joining in. So today is our bi-weekly design call. So where we talk about chaos design, right? And things going on and also share some ideas. So so today we're just gonna jump right in and if you attended the last call, I know Emmanuel joined. I was on the last community call, Chaos Africa community call that happens on Thursdays. So there was a conversation around Chaos Con Africa, right? And that will be coming up August this year in Lagos. So I think the last time we had one was 2023. Yeah, I'm not sure we had one last year. So, and the 2023 edition was the first edition. So this is going to be the second one. And don't worry, I think last time was live streamed or something. So you can also connect and also be a part of, you know. We also even had some virtual speakers too. So why I brought that up is whilst we are working on the chaos branding, the brand style guide, and the chaos con. Um, it's also gonna be, in fact, looking at chaos con. I feel like it will also be um, one of the big experiments we're gonna do, right? With the event branding aspect of chaos as a whole, right? So um, I personally have been a one of the designers for Open Source Community Africa events. Um, I think the last Oscar, I was pretty much like at the forefront of the event branding and all that. And it's also really something about the team. Also looking forward to that. We'll also be trying to um, uh, some ideas will also I would like us to kind of like explore here because in the Oscar team we basically like have calls, brainstorm, explore things like and it's usually like a very interesting session, right? And then we have like I think usually like maybe um so we have a designer. Like everyone on the call is actually designers, but then we have graphics, someone handling like main graphics. We also have 3D person, we have UI person, we have experience person, someone that basically just focusing on the event experience, right? And the event experience, the feel, everything, how you want people, because this is all part of design, right? So the experience just has its implies. So I feel like these are some of the things we're also going to be exploring for ChaosCon. Like my hope is that the designs we're going to do for that event is going to reflect high level intentionality, right? For an inclusive event. That's what I'm looking at. The first edition wasn't so bad, but we're really looking at having an improved version of that. Uh, so that being said, so there are a couple of tasks, there are a couple of things, aligned for that event, and I this call is also to encourage each and every one of us that whether you're a product designer, you're whatever design field you stack, right? You specialize in, you can be a part of this, right? You can contribute to these as an experienced designer, right? You can contribute to these as an illustrator, you can contribute to this as the graphics person, you can contribute to this as the brand person, right? You can also contribute to these by way of giving, feedbacks and all that. So two critical things. One is the Chaos Brand Style Guide, which is something that's been on, and I'm still gonna size that, on this call. And then building up to, the Chaos Con event and all that. Um, so let me share the design exploration screen we did for. Hey, can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay, so pretty much nothing much here that maybe in this space we should probably. Emmanuel, please can you help me drop the link to this workspace on?
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I recently switched to Figma desktop, and I'm not so sure how to quickly pick. Like
Yeah,
I
drop the link.
think okay, so
And you
I
just click
was
on
like,
the link,
sorry,
here. If you want to share the link here, that corner, that blue stuff there, you could easily get the link. Yeah.
or the link to this particular page and not the.
Yeah, so I think you can match on what's that word? Where's that thing? Oh, it's not even here. Okay.
Uh,
Coming.
okay, man, I've been a fan of the web version. Like I've used it all my
Yeah.
since day one of using Figma. So I'm just kind of like trying to, I don't know, let me just explore the web app and all that, or the desktop app. Okay, so this is a workspace, right? We created, and this was basically for design exploration, sharing ideas and creative work, and then sharing, like, I've said this, right? Um a whole lot comes into, creating design. So with a contribution, we're not just looking at, we're not necessarily be like you're designing, but then being part of like the design process. There's a process to accomplishing, putting thoughts together, putting designs together. I think if you look around, these are just some flyers. Even most recently, was it like yesterday or this morning? These guys they had to reach out to me. I had to just quickly like look up something, you know. So what I'm looking at is and most of the stuff that I've been working on most recently, I had to push them here. So the intention is that, it also gives us a picture of some of the things we need or we do need on a daily. For example, something like this, like every at the end of every year, almost end of every year or beginning of every year, we usually have like a recap. So something like this, it's something we use, right, from time to time too. And then we have like a lot of events, from time to time, X spaces, where, different people talk, And then I had to create one other one, like this is also something most of these things are just spontaneous that I just get to work on, right? Because these requests comes and sometimes Oluchi doesn't drop them on the general channel, she's just dropping in my DM. So I'm trying to decentralize this now and just kind of like make it open. So for example, you looking at, ways of contributing, you just come look at, oh, this welcome March, April. You can just duplicate this and just replicate everything it down to like December, right? And then maybe create a drive on this thing link and drop it there. That's kind of like contribution you've made Understand that that's a contribution. That's your own. It doesn't have to be like rockets, you know. It doesn't have to be like the big stuff. Understand? So that's just by the way I had to, share some of those things you might not. And this other girl, she's not on the drive, or she's not on this call. Eunice, she really did follow up on this and helped us set up um this slide. I'm yet to make final reviews anyways. So, but the whole idea of this call is to still, emphasize on the chaos branding. You know, this will also give some insight to the direction of things we can also explore, but not limited to this, right? Something community centric, inclusive centric, playing around, something vibrant since it's community um, predominantly young people, right? So you also need something like, active, vibrant and all that. So these are also so we're just exploring ideas, right, around maybe having different flyer concepts like this, right? Because for the CHAOSScon events, we're going to be having speakers flyer, right? Flyers and all that. We're going to be having events flyers. So, but internally within the community, you know, um, just creating, working on working on templates, working on creating things that could serve as a guide, right? Maybe at the end of the day, if you now decide like, oh, these are some of, for example, you see like playing around this thing, the chaos logo and all that, and sometimes, some shapes and all that. So these are also some like these are areas and many more. Like this is like we bringing on, ideas, together, and discussing some of these things and creating a style guide that, by extension, guide every other things, every other design process, that every other things you want to create within the community. So this page is very open to anyone to, like I said, dropping ideas and not just dropping ideas, if you also not just dropping screenshots, if you want to also share context, ideas, you may not necessarily be the one to design, but if you see a screenshot like this and then you share it, you can as well just drop a comment like, oh, this was XYZ, was on my mind when I checked this out. Maybe I feel like we can explore because when you share it, some of that person may not really know the main intent. You may as well, sometimes it's just pretty funny how sometimes I'm making a design and then it could just be looking at something like this. It could just be maybe just one of the abstract shape. I'm not interested in the overall design. It's just an abstract shape. I saw how it's being used and then I pick it up, right? So sometimes when you drop as a creative, I feel like sometimes it may be the entire design, but sometimes, okay, for example, someone sharing a church flyer. Yeah, not literally saying that we should be explaining church flyer and chaos, but then I feel like something inspired, the person sharing this, like religious flyer, right, for a community. So, of course, church is also part of a community, that's also so giving context to which, you're sharing stuff. And then when you look at this too, I did said in one of our calls that this is kind of like the keywords implementing what we are doing. Right. So what we intend to achieve, the deliverables we are looking at is typography, deciding on typography, imagery, and all that. So I think I'm gonna take a pause here and see like are there things ideas we can share, maybe things we can do on this call, right? And what particular ideas would you suggest we can go about so that we can have an active working team towards even a chaos con that is coming up by August, right? So this is open, right, to the to everyone and anyone that wants to say something. Please, I don't know, Emmanuel, If you can take over, just give me a moment. Excuse me, everyone, please just give me a minute.
Okay. Um, so just as Kingsley has said, do anybody have any um sort of contribution as to how we can keep the conversation going as to the chaos branding and together with the chaos conference, the chaos conference that's coming in August. The floor is quite open wide for any sort of contribution. I mean, um, Kingsley has talked so much about how you know how you can contribute. It's not necessarily you have to move pixel. Even it is like you see something, you've seen a flyer or you've seen some graphics that you think we could take inspiration from, you could also drop the comments. And for just are just joining the link, let me just drop the link again. The link to the um to the Figma file. I'm dropping it again. So if you want to up on and just check what we have in there, I think it would be great so that you could also see how you could contribute. I've shared the link again on the chat, in the chat, sorry. So if you could check through, if you want to breeze in and see what we've got and what we are working towards and seeing. Okay, actually said these are all the chaos design shared early done on Figma. Yeah, they are done on Figma. So they are done on Figma. I just shared the link now to Figma. So you could check, come in, click on the link, you get into the file. You could see all the designs, all the inspirations, the flyers for at least there are a couple of events and there are a couple of um AMH talk that we had last month. The flyers are there, just like what Kingsley said, just to serve as inspiration as to what we want to create. So yeah, the floor is open. And just give like few seconds. Let me know if anybody wants to contribute.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, thank you.
Yeah,
So, okay,
yeah.
um,
Seems like so I shared the link again, and I think everybody is kind of. I think I would assume that everybody um at this time don't have anything yet, but hopefully maybe with the link that we've shared, when maybe out of the when we are not in a call, maybe someone could contribute. Yeah.
okay, so give me a moment. Let me share my screen again. So there is an issue here on GitHub. Mary B brought to my attention. Right. It's actually for what is this thing? It's still for the CHAOSScon. Yeah, the CHAOSScon Africa sponsorship deck. Right. So we need a deck, right? And then this is something we need long like ahead of. Let me drop this here. So if it's also something you can work on, my goodness. If it's something you can work on, you can head over to GitHub there and comment on it, drop your feedback, and then just let me know. And then someone asked a question: if please CHAOSScon designs shared earlier done on Figma or some. Okay, so yeah, most of the designs, yeah, the designs that were shared, yeah, are done on Figma. Yeah. I don't know Figma, but then you don't have to, if there's any other tool you use, right? And you feel like, okay, you're more comfortable using them, One of the reasons I really use this is that, sometimes just makes collaboration super easy. So you can use Figma to create, or if you're an Adobe Illustrator person or any other vector graphic tool or Photoshop, you just make sure that as you're exporting, the files are, you make the files accessible and editable on a Google Drive link, right? So yeah, I just shared the issue on the if you want to work on that, you can also send me a message on Slack, right? Um, so here's the thing. Um, I know that I'm pretty much aware that most of us on the call are product designers, and I know I've said this severally, and I still also want to, say this again. Um, that for the branding project, we need all hands on deck. And by that, I mean, you don't have to like limit yourself to the product design thingy, right? You can explore by way of for example, like a mood board, you know. I believe we create an for product design, we create an extensive mood board when we're making this thing. So it's just something that applies with branding, right? You have a user story, user journey map when designing, UI. And something also involves in, because the, for example, these keywords, all these things just helps us build a persona, right? So we want, all I want is that at the end of the day, we are able to, as a team, right, decide on, oh, this is a typography to work with. For example, most of what I've been using here, if you noticed, um, I have a condensed typography. I have the normal sans serif fonts, right? Normal ones. There are cases where we need a condensed um font like this. And there are also other cases where you just need a bold, a steady font, right? And all that. So all these things, are also part of what we want to define. And imagery, if you also notice consistency in the imagery, that most of the image in the design and mostly all the designs you see so far, that's passed through Chaos Africa, the images are usually grayscale, right? So things like that, it's also part of what, so you can also kind of like take a cue from some of the stuff we've done before and try to like key things down, because what we're also trying to build, we are not trying to build something that is very far away from our existing, you know, it's just to also create everything that has been worked on here, there's no guideline to this, right? So maybe from these right now, we want to start building, so that other people coming in, for example, you may not necessarily be a graphics person, but then maybe a design working group wants to have an AMA session, right, tomorrow. And then maybe it's just three speakers. All you just need to do is just come over here, update the date, time, and topic, and all that. Maybe technicals writers change it to design focus group, and then update this thing, update their picture, and you're good. Export the flyer, and so that's just where I'm hoping we could get to. If it's just about the wrap, then except we want to, as a community, want to update this design. But if there's no need for that, you just come over here. It's pretty much the same thing. Might be, oh, community numbers has increased, so you change the number, you update the number. We have more partners maybe this year, you now update it. How many projects you were able to execute this year? X Connect, our connections on X, the events, for example, we are hosting major events, ChaosCon this year. You had sponsors. Did we get more sponsors this year? So, you just change that you're making. So you don't need to be like, a badass this thing to do that. So this is what, and this is like a major goal for us this year, right? And I am really hoping that like everyone here is really gonna like, like support and work together so we could accomplish this. Um, Sorry. So So that being said, I don't know if we have specific questions, right? I'm also open to answering the questions.
Okay, so let me just add up to in terms of what we're doing, right?
So I think I lost. Please, can you go ahead, please? Sorry.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So just like what you said, yeah. In terms of the what we want to achieve, like the last statement you said, like the major goal, right? So we're looking at kind of having like a a style guide that would guide any designer who wants to contribute, like just to be clear, right? And also, I know, like you said, most of us, like probably, let's just say we assume like 80% are kind of product designers. And probably if we also look at in terms of the language that we speak, maybe in terms of style guide, product style guide, maybe in case of um couple of projects within chaos itself. So it means those also need to take in, like we need to also refer to the main branding or to the main style guide from Chaos itself, right? So I think that's where I see that, okay, it's very, very important that, okay, yeah, 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 go ahead, right.
So that's the thing. Um, Maybe I'll try to pull that up, but then again, to the best of my knowledge, right? I know so well that the information we have as regards anything style is limited to the logo, right? And
Yeah.
the logo font, right? And of course, maybe the colors. So we don't have an extensive and a robust style guide that covers, most of,
Sorry,
part.
let me ask this quick
Okay.
question. Is the logo and the Chaos logo, I mean, that's CHA. I know that's icon, which is I think is really, really good. But the other part of it, is it written on stone? Is it something that could, by any chance, being proposed for a sort of like a refresh or something? Is that something we're also considering? Not like totally overhauling, definitely. Is this something that, because again, if something like that comes, I think might be like exciting for people to take on the challenge. But I just want to just gonna get like a like the constraint that we have, the level of freedom that we could have to play around in terms of exploring.
Okay, so I think in terms of exploration, as long as also to the best of my knowledge, right? And as long as we are not making any changes to the logo, which personally I feel like we don't need to, right? And I personally feel like the logo is okay. I don't even want to bother myself with the logo because touching the logo is just gonna take even a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
Like even proposing anything towards the logo is just gonna take a lot of process, right? Because the community is quite, and then you have a board and so a whole lot is involved in that. Um so the only thing I feel, and I know that we'll be able to really have a lot of control over, and the community will also really respect whatever we come up with, right, is now how we are able to, from the logo we have, build up something, right? And now make that recommendation to the community that this is what we are proposing by way of this style guide. We know things has been going on in fact, now this might give an impression of a Chaos Africa thingy, but I can bet you that as it stands, the Chaos Global as it is does not really have, like I said again, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not even aware we have any of such robust documents anywhere. If there is one, I will be pretty much be aware of it. So we don't have. So I'm sure that with any what we'll be able to accomplish, right, by the time we propose this to the Chaos Board, um, there will also be that opportunity, right, to maybe the global community also wanting to take advantage or really, really indicate interest in this and maybe now use it, globally within the community. So it's not like as much as yeah, this might look like it's a Chaos Africa thingy. I don't think it's something that definitely would transcend Chaos Africa. But for now, I if we can just achieve something at this micro scale. Now, when I mean micro scale, is that this is kind of like my vision for this whole thing. Now, you have Chaos Chaos Africa, you have Chaos, I think Europe, you have North America, and a couple of other regions, right? And now the idea is that when you look at when you talk about inclusivity in open source, inclusion in open source is that getting people from different walks of life, from different background, contributing to projects and being able to identify with the project, right? So if a project, this is CHAOSScon Africa, right? For example, I recall in the last CHAOSScon Africa, the CHAOSScon Africa 2023. I wish I had a design on my PC right now. I would have shared it. So, for example, some of the elements we played around with in the design branding that event was, some abstract African elements, right? Using it to brand the event. You wouldn't do that if you're branding a North America chaos event, right? You
Mm.
wouldn't do that if you're branding not uh, chaos Europe event and all that, chaos con Europe and all that. So this is a picture now I'm trying to paint, right? That there are other regions, and if you are able to do something that captures, chaos itself and Africa as a subset of the chaos global, right? There will be that room now and possibility for even other regions to mimic what we are doing, or for us to even influence that design process, by way of, people referencing the style guide we have to create things for other regions, right? So we have an opportunity here to really do something remarkable, something great, and set a pace, right? So that this is exactly what, and it's something I can't do this on my own, honestly speaking. So I definitely I can't do this on my own. So that's why I really do want each and every one of us like to really get involved, and so lest I forget, I don't know if I answered your question, Emmanuel. So I don't think we,
Yeah, yeah, you
w-
you you did
yeah.
justice. I think it's clear now,
Mm,
in terms of what we need to get done, which is more like we have a logo, just like every other, we just need like a brand guide, if I'm correct. If that's
mm,
correct what you mean. So at least some of us we have branding background. So we have a logo, right? Then we have assets, collaterals that take inspiration from the logo. So that's kind of what we want to have, like a guideline, like a system that okay, anybody can just look at this guideline, apply it to any of our designs.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. We're just looking at the style guide, actually.
Okay.
So this is what I'm gonna say. For now, I don't know. Okay, this is what, let's just start with the known to the unknown so that as we're leaving this call, we have particular things we're gonna like be working on. Right. So Macleave, I want you to do something for us, right? And so sort of like go through the flyers we have, right? And I want you to just create a Figma frame, just a frame, just have a frame, typography, and then go through. When you go through that page, you see the different pages. You see playground. In fact, when you go to playground, you see a lot of design explorations there. So you see playground, you see flyers, you see maybe new months and all that. So what I want you to do is you go through and then just check the fonts, all the different. I know there are a lot of fonts, you use it. So just check all the fonts that's been used, right? And then you just like list them out on the frame you've created. The Hi, Maclay, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, okay, okay. Oh, please just let me know if this is just a whole lot. I just feel like I saw you just checking the design, so I feel like it's something you might be interested in doing. So just check and list that one out, and then I think for for imagery, right? I don't know who might be interested in, you know, maybe just checking out. Already, I think maybe partly it could be like it's a personal decision, but I don't know if we have anyone has any other contradicting like ideas, right, as to imagery directions we can also still explore, right? I wouldn't mind to also throw that open to anyone that's also wants to maybe just take that up and then look at. So far, that's for the typography. We have let me check something. Okay, so we have presentation template is what this girl was working on. Though, yeah, there was a request for this presentation template. That's how we had to rush over it. It's not like in any way like what we are working on right now is really going to influence it that much, except it's just subjected to future change to reflect the brand style. So I don't know, does any person here want to do some, because most of what has been shared has really been around maybe, yeah, flyers. No one has really like done anything, posted anything around illustrations. So I want someone that might be interested in just checking out illustrations or vector style designs, right, that we could explore, like specifically. Now this is just specific, it's not like just picking stuff randomly. You're specifically looking for um vector style design, like, forgive me, all design mostly I was like, but about illustrations, right? So you're looking at illustrations, community centric illustrations, community illustration styles, right? Minimal illustration styles that we can explore, right? So I don't know, between Emmanuel and Felix, who might be interested in doing that.
For illustration, maybe I can try. Maybe I can just borrow my brandiness and just check out few things, and I would, yeah, dump on the in Figma. So I'm also trying to do something on Figma. So the way we had the Figma structured a bit was kind of um very close. So I think we could also separate kind of ongoing works and like a playground. So anything that maybe something like we are working on actively, like the brand style guide, we could just dump everything there, maybe create like a page for each of them. So like these illustrations now, I'm looking for illustrations, ideas, and oops, I'll call you back. Sorry. I can easily just drop them into that page, or we could just jump in on this particular page, right?
You mean to drop it on which page, please? Sorry.
Brand style, this page, brand style guy, like,
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, no
But
problem.
even if you want to create a separate page, you just probably have to just name it, and all that. So
Okay, okay.
we'll be able to track. So I think that's it. And overall, I'm just also gonna like, check some of things, and and I really like want us to, come together and create this, and make this work. We've talked about this, and like first quarter is gone already. So and this week these meetings usually like, 2 weeks. So you don't have to wait to like, you know, I'm so sorry I was distracted a bit and didn't get what he said. I just said my name. Well, don't worry, you didn't miss so much. We just talked about like different responsibility for the brand style guy. So McCleave will help us, collate all the type for the different flyers on the workspace. So maybe from there we can filter out and know what exactly to use and what not to use, and maybe other options, because we're going to have a variety of fonts. So it's not like you are constrained to one or two fonts, because I think can just be so frustrating. And because sometimes you need to do that. So that's it for me personally when I'm choosing fonts for maybe a brand. I choose different classes of fonts, right? Because fonts just has purpose and all that. So we're gonna have maybe could even be up to like maybe three or four, standard fonts like we use, and then that works in different scenarios, So and then manual is gonna handle just reviewing and collecting, or just getting illustration style ideas. I know I'm still gonna contribute to that, but if you also want to contribute to that, fine. Like specifically looking out for illustrations, community-centric illustrations, and things that we can also possibly illustrate. Understand? Things like we can also, it could be maybe like you just keywords. Recently, working on a project that has to do with learning, and specifically around learning, people learning. And then instruction was very clear. You are not supposed to use the humans, right? Because it's something that cut across the global community. So they didn't want any issue with skin color and all that. So I was just limited to working with abstract elements. So then when you talk of learning, what are the things that comes to mind? So you could think of maybe people who need things to write. It could be a pen or pencil, it could be a paper to write on, and a couple of so things like this coming together to build the idea. So when we are talking about communities, what exactly are the keywords within community cycle that we can explore even to make illustrations. So these are just the ideas, right? You can either work with the manual, or if you feel like okay, there's another aspect you feel you could explore, contribute to, it's also fine. So that being said, I personally I didn't want this meeting to extend to noon. I have a meeting by noon. So please, I'm hoping that we just jump on this. And if you also, I shared an issue here on GitHub, about the sponsorship deck. If it's something you can, work on or contribute to, you can also reach out to me too. That's also an open issue working towards CHAOSS. And I also want to mention that let's all be a part of, the planning and everything. And working towards the Chaos Con events, be a part of it. You even if you don't have plans of being in person, but just try to be a part of it, contribute to it and all that. This also speaks a whole lot to, your own profile, right? And all that. So I don't know if there's any other thoughts or ideas, because I think I've exhausted mine.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Kinsley, if you don't mind, is there a date yet for the CHAOSScon?
Ruth mentioned the dates, but when I confirmed, I'll probably share it. She mentioned the dates, I think, on the last community call. But what the only thing I'm super sure of right now is that it's happening in August this year. Right. So I'm
Okay,
not sure
okay.
of the specific date, but it's happening in August. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know, are there any other thing? I think that will be it. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for making our time to join in. And I really appreciate